Are we live? We are live. Good evening, everyone. Good evening, good evening, good evening. Actually, hold on. God damn it. I keep doing this. Why do I keep doing this myself? Uno momento, por favor. Uh, just gotta paste the link in here somewhere. Blah, blah, blah. Here, and then content, and then here, and then here. All right, let me put this in the Telegram. And then here. Okay. So heard my name mentioned on the BTS video. So of course, you sent for me. I'm gonna come. Pause. So we're back to education. This is round number 9 of learning by reference versus learning by memorization. Me and BGS have been going back and forth on this topic. It's going on almost 10 years. 8? I think the very first time, like 2017, we started having this discussion. So and let me pull up his video here. We're gonna start. It'd probably help if you all could see it, right? Share screen. Cynical one, how's it going? Let's do tab here and then share audio. Okay. Maximize. Okay. So effectively, I think I do think it's a generational thing. Um, where he believes, there are things that you should just memorize. First of all, in the context of the young lady, what's her name? Alicia some, I think. Hold on. Um, it is Alicia Ortiz, 19 years old. Okay. So in the context of Alicia Ortiz, you know, I am saying like where are her parents? And for context, Alicia Ortiz is a student that pretty much I won't say cheated because even though you're doing text to type and you're using tech to essentially float you by, that's not cheating. That takes still an immense amount of effort. Um, so it's not the same as cheating off someone's paper or something. If you consider cheating in as in they haven't memorized it, okay, then fine, it's cheating. Um, uh, where were the parents? The mother, she can't speak English very well. Okay, fine. Where's the father? So in terms of we can't lay this her situation at the feet of like Chat GPT. We're not gonna do. We're not gonna do that. Absolutely not. We're not gonna say because she used Chat GPT and text to type and dictation tools on an iPhone or whatever. I think she had an iPhone. That it's their fault. No, absolutely not. This is a failure of a parents first and schools second. The tech tools are just tools. That's about as far as I go with that. I don't really care to get in politics of like education and stuff like that. I don't care about child's education. Nope. You should learn how to read. You should learn how to write. You should learn how to do basic arithmetic, right? Addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division, and fractions, and maybe decimals, and that's about it. That's all you need for the real world. As far as on to job specific stuff, you don't need to memorize that stuff because you're probably going to be using Excel. You're probably going to be using some other software that does the calculating for you. So the idea of you shouldn't be using calculators is ridiculous to me. Here's a quote: "I don't give a shit about mental math, or I don't give a shit about memorizing something in a world filled with calculators." Okay. If you need doomsday scenarios for you to make your point, like what happens. Okay. So when I was in elementary school, early elementary, using calculators were frowned upon, right? We didn't even have a slide rule. I've seen one before, but that's before my time. So we had calculators, but they were frowned upon, right? There was we just had to, and those were the ugly gray ones that was solar powered, by the way. So the only reason why we were allowed to use calculators was to check our work, not to actually do our work. And so it was this whole thing. Of course, if you're a Gen Z or an older Gen Z, or excuse me, not Gen Z, a Gen Xer, an older Gen Xer, or a Boomer, then you probably feel some sort of way about that because you didn't come up with calculators. You had to do everything mental. Um, like I said, add, subtract, divide, multiply, fractions, decimals. You're good. You're good. Everything else, any other math is job specific, and I don't care. And you're going to be using calculators for that anyways, like Mathematica, MATLAB, um, all graphing calculators, all that stuff. That's what you're going to be using on the job. No one gives a shit if you could do mental math. Can you do the job? Yes or no? That's all that matters. I don't care if you have 20,000 hours of doing mental math, or can you do the job? Yes or no? That's it. That's it. All right. Let's go through the video. Uh, let's go start.
Right. Yes, she says she graduated with honors from Hartford Public School in 2024. She has since filed a lawsuit against Hartford Board of Education and city officials, accusing them of negligence in failing to provide adequate special education services throughout her schooling, per reporting from Connecticut's. That's News 8. I think we might watch that. Ortiz is now enrolled at the University of Connecticut,
Let's skip a little
a
ahead.
voice-to-text software to complete her application. Also, she received financial aid and scholarships to support her education. Once in college, Ortiz faced academic difficulties. No shit. She shared with CNN that while UConn has provided support services, she took a leave of absence starting in February 2025 for mental health reasons. Of course, she can't read. Okay, I guess that would cause stress. She stated she intends to return to her studies, but has faced challenges in adapting to the rigor of college coursework. She can't read. Experts have pointed out that Ortiz's case is not unique. Literacy advocates argue that the disparities in educational resources disproportionately affect students in underfunded districts. Bullshit. Contributing to
I
cases
agree.
while students graduate
I agree
without
with BGS.
essential skills. Okay?
You have
Bullshit.
access to the internet. I'm not giving you an excuse. If you can use
Bullshit.
one
Okay?
thing I will agree with BGS on 100%. If you can game the system, if you can use text to type, and you can use Chat GPT, and you can use tools to not only graduate from high school, but to graduate with honors, and not only to graduate from high school, not only to graduate with honors, but to get into UConn, you can't teach yourself to read with the internet. You have access to a cell phone, which is a computer with a phone application, by the way, and you have resources at the school, and you have what I don't know what the resources are wherever she is in Connecticut. I don't know what her access to resources is, so I can't really speak on that. But I'm pretty sure that they have something right outside of the school or whatever programs, right? You can't utilize those resources to help you read? Really? I'm not going to give her grace because she's in high school. No, because when you, Erica, how's it going? When you tell me that you graduated from high school with honors and you got into UConn, I'm not giving you any grace. I no, 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 no. And BJS will say later on that uh, um, the school district provided the resources. It's up to you to take advantage of them. I agree 1,000%. She knew exactly what she was doing. Yeah, she thought she could bluff her way through it. I commend her. I commend her in her attempting, but when you get to UConn, and I don't know why you would shoot for UConn, by the way. Sure, shoot for the stars. Let's go to UConn. If you're trying to bluff your way through school, don't go to UConn. Is damn near an ivory tower, I think. Maybe not, but if it's whatever one level under an ivory tower is, that's where UConn is. It's a prodigious school. I don't know if I'm saying that right. I apologize if I'm not. UConn? That's the school you decided to try to bluff your way through? But no, I'm not gonna give you any grace. Because you know it. Yeah. And then, when you can't bluff your way through it, and now you actually do, probably for the first time in your life, now you actually do have to put in the grind, which will require 12, 15-hour days. Now you're crying victim. Oh, no, 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 no. You can't cry victim now. No, 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 no. Absolutely not. You shot for the stars. You got in, and now you're getting exposed. And now that you're getting exposed, you want to cry victim? Absolutely not. No. I'm not going to give. When you tell me that you graduate from high school with honors using tech tools and you don't know how to read and you can't spell your own name, because you'll see a video where she has have trouble spelling her own name. And you can get into UConn when not doing that. There are kids that are doing everything legit, putting in the hours, and they can't get into UConn. So I love um, her determination, in a sense that this is what I need to do. I'm gonna get in no matter what. But then, right, it kind of stops at like learning how to read and stuff like that. I understand learning how to read and I'm not an educator, I'm not a parent, so I don't know, but I'm assuming that reading and writing, if you don't know how to do it, it takes a considerable amount of time. You're not going to have that instant gratification. It doesn't happen in a day or a week or a month. It takes time, and it takes a long time. And if you're at UConn, you don't have that time. You don't have time to learn how to read when you're looking at 4 or 5 classes. Redneck Russ, how's it going? When you're looking at 4 or 5 classes and you got to write this essay and that essay, you may have to do this presentation, you may have to do this research, that research. You don't have time to do ABC 1, 2, and 3 when you're at UConn. You should have foreseen that. And again, I'm not going to cut her any slack. I'm not going to give any grace because you know how to use the tools. You know how to use the tools in your favor. We will get on our knees because we know we are in the presence. we we're not trolling today. We're not trolling today. That's a warning, right, not Russ. Not today, please. Not today. Okay. But yeah, continuing on.
Let's hit the let's hit the link for this WTH News 8. I think we saw it already, but let's hit it and see what happens. Okay. I was looking for a video, but I guess they don't have one. A news operation without a video. Interesting.
Let's go forward a little.
Yeah, that one. Can you guys see this one? Okay. You guys see this one? See, keep doing real black media. I said if you use to my student, if fair to wait you if you use ChatGPT instead of actually reading in my class, you will face hell on the job. Yes.
Okay. All right, Russ, you're out of here. I don't know why. Why do y'all troll me? I haven't live streamed in like, well, it was last week, but before that, why? Leave me alone. Okay. Um. Okay. Theo Wolf does great things for Black men in our community, right? I'm assuming that his course, and I haven't taken any of his courses. I'm assuming his course is project based and not theory based. I'll tell you right now, and for context, Theo Wolf he does a course on cloud computing. Um, I'll tell you right now, if you're doing just theory and cloud computing, you're in trouble anyway. And that's in anything. You need real world experience. Well, yes, but you need like project based learning, right? You need to do projects. Um, can you use ChatGPT to fill in the blanks? Yes, but you got to put in the reps. You got to put in the reps. Anything real world experience, cloud based, and that's anything. That's cloud engineering, software engineering, cybersecurity, malware analysis, all of that stuff. You have to actually do the work. You have to do it. You could document it. You could document a workflow like an SOP and then follow along. But you still, I'll say that like, especially in tech, um, where the real learning comes in is where like you have to troubleshoot something, like right. So what happens um when your plan of doing something doesn't exactly work out? Can you think your way out of that? That's really where the money is. Why do they always? I have no idea. I have no idea. No idea. Um, so I agree with Theo in the sense of using ChatGPT instead of actually putting in the work. Then yeah, I disagree that um you can't use tools like ChatGPT and or Claude and or Perplexity. First of all, Perplexity is a whole different animal because it's actually using the internet as sources, multiple sources, along with Grok Deep Research and Google's Deep Research and OpenAI's Deep Research. Yes, they all have the same name. I don't know why they all have the same name, but whatever. I don't agree that you can't use those tools to fill in the blanks, because you will need to fill in the blanks, right? No one is going to memorize the book front to back, right? You are going to need to refer to something at some point. All right, continuing on.
Okay, you guys can see it. Okay, this is something I was battling with. This is something I was arguing with a black female with. Okay, about using this tech and using this as a crutch and why it's bad for a business.
Here we
It
go.
should be used as a tool, okay, and not as a crutch instead of doing the real work. And she argued against that. And this is the kind of shit that happens. Okay.
Of a Hartford Public School.
Again, we're talking about reading and writing. I believe that everyone should, you got to learn how to read and write, guys. Read, write, and arithmetic, and you're good. The calculus and all that shit is extra. Add, subtract, multiply, divide, fractions, and decimals. You're good. That's what you need for most jobs. Not all of them, of course. There are exceptions, but most jobs you just don't need it. Um, as a crutch. I agree with him in this sense with Alicia's case because she doesn't know how to read and write. So even though she could hack her way through or bluff her way through high school, eventually you will get exposed if you don't know what you're doing. And don't know what you're doing in their quotes is reading and writing.
School's graduate. She earned her diploma, unable to read or write, and what she endured is troubling.
She sat down with News 8's Eva Zamaris for her first TV interview. She shares her message.
This is a special report from
a precious moment in time captured in a photo of a young girl with so much hope and promise for the future. But her journey from that moment would prove to be unlike anything she could have ever expected.
My name is Alesha Ortiz, Aleys Haortiz. T.
Struggling to spell her own name, 19-year-old Alicia Ortiz tells us the school district she entrusted with her education failed her, graduating last year unable to read or write.
My time in Harvard Public School was a time that I don't wish upon anyone.
Ortiz moved from Puerto Rico to Connecticut, becoming a Hartford Public School student in the first grade. She struggled with a speech impediment, dyslexia, ADHD, and initially a language barrier.
Every first day of school, I would tell the teacher, hey, I cannot read and write, so please be patient with me. So everyone knew.
For years, she asked for educational resources and support, but instead, she says she was bullied, harassed, and neglected by.
How about her parents? Her parents don't know how to read or write. If she knows, she's telling the school. How come her parent? Why is she standing to her teachers and not her parents? They also have people called social workers.
District employees.
I cried knowing that the people who has big titles know that this is happening and no one has stepped up to do something about it.
No.
Ortiz has now filed a lawsuit against the city, Board of Education, and one of her special education teachers, claiming her learning disabilities were not properly addressed by the board. And as a result, she continued to struggle academically. This specific complaint names Tilda Santiago, a special education case manager and teacher, who would allegedly yell at, belittle, ridicule, and humiliate Ortiz, adding Ortiz would frequently run to other teachers and or administrators in tears and emotional distress. We reached out to Santiago for a comment. She directed our request to the Board of Education staff attorney.
Where was her mother or her father? Okay. Where were they?
Well, mother, as you'll listen further in the video, apparently doesn't know English. So, and I'm assuming there's no father in the picture. But it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Yes, the parents should, you got to, sit down with your kids and read with them. Yes, sure. But I'm not cutting her any slack because you know how to overcome these hurdles. You can't tell me that you graduate from high school with honors and you got into UConn and you can't teach yourself to read. I'm sorry, I'm not buying it. I'm not buying it. Absolutely not. You don't have the discipline to do it. Okay, fine, but there's consequences for that. You don't get to go to college, UConn at that, and then you feel like you're at the bottom of the class because you can't read or write, and now you're put in a position where you're going to have to do essays. You may have to present them. You're going to have to read. You have to do something interactive, right? So when you're doing learning by reference, or you're just referring to other tools to effectively do the work for you, and ChatGPT and other LLMs are one hell of an abstraction layer. You're referring to all of that to do the heavy lifting for you. Let's just keep it 100, right? All you got to do is have a pretty good prompt engineering framework, and you can figure anything out. Well, not anything, but most things you can figure it out. And now I've said this before. I think PhDs are dead because with Notebook LM and Perplexity, you don't need to do the heavy lifting. Like the days of hear people do like a PhD, take it 10 years, 20 years. Those days are over. If you know how to use your tools today, and know how to string them together, and you know how to document, those days are over. A month, maybe a month is a little too quick. 3 months, just to double check, dot your I's, cross your T's, stuff like that. Study your thesis, study your material. So when you get quizzed on it, and you will be quizzed on it, or at least you should assume so. If you're gonna bluff, you have to. She just doesn't know how to bluff on the college level. I would assume it's pretty hard to do even when you don't know how to read. So Uh, that's crazy. But no, her not reading and knowing how to write is not a failure of the school system. No, you have the resources. In the state of Florida, the exact same thing. Well, it wasn't a case that where the young lady didn't know how to read or write. She didn't know how to read. She didn't know how to write a business letter. So her father, caused up a shitstorm, and I think he went to the Florida Board of Education, whatever the hell it was, and now one of the gen eds in college is you have to take a writing course of some sort, right? So that's how that came into fruition because some dumbass the parents couldn't be bothered to interact with their daughter on what they learned and have her demonstrate it. Again, you're in the real world, you get exposed. College, you can't bluff your way through UConn. You can't. If you could bluff your way through UConn, then yeah, I'll be like, UConn, maybe you're not that good. If you could chat GPT your way through it, and it's not that great. All right, let's continue on.
Waiting to hear
Crazy.
back. Ortiz used talk to text and other technology to get her grades up, walking the stage at graduation. A moment filled with mixed emotions.
It's the treatment
She all happy and
that she
shit,
had to go through at the hands
knowing
of
she can't read.
several
That's
of
the
the people
crazy.
who were
That picture is a trip because she happy as shit in those pictures, knowing she can't read or write worth a lick.
the
Oh
adults in the
man,
room
you
who
can't
were
make
supposed
this
to be
shit up.
helping her.
You
We
really
reached
can't.
out to the city and Board of Education, who tell News 8 they can't comment on ongoing litigation. The superintendent's office also declined to comment. Carol Gill, president of Hartford Federation of Teachers, told us she can't speak on the specific lawsuit, but thinks there needs to be a review of policy. It does give educators in Hartford pause to reflect on the sometimes conflicting goals to increase graduation rates, while also maintaining high expectations consistent with what a high
In other words, they're treating white kids and stuff like that like kids in the ghetto. Okay, white kids it's happening to the white kids too.
school diploma should mean. Ortiz wants to see change happen so that no other student will have to experience what she did.
Education is so important, and I believe we have forgotten the meaning of it.
It's crazy how she's coming to this
Again, we did
realization
reach out to the
now that she got exposed.
school district for a comment. As for that lawsuit, they're seeking an undisclosed amount in damages. Many have rallied around Ortiz, getting her the support that she needs. She was accepted into UConn and wants to focus on special education policy and advocacy.
How are you going to go to UConn, one of the most prestigious colleges in the nation, and advocate for special education? Now, you don't belong there.
I agree.
How are
No
you
argument
there?
here. No argument here. You don't belong.
How did she? Yeah, we'll get into that in a minute. Okay.
You don't put in the time to study. You don't put in the time to read or write. You don't belong. You don't belong. There are kids that are doing legit. Nose to the grind, nose to the ground, putting in hours, hundreds of hours, thousands of hours. Can't get into UConn.
We'll get into that in a minute.
If only she taught herself to learn how to read or write, she could be anything. She could do anything in this world.
Now
That's where
this
she
is
stopped.
something
That's the
that
tragedy.
now this is the woke crowd. Okay. This is the woke crowd. This is how the woke is presenting her. Okay, like she's a hero. I said there is more going on here. She is special ed, and that changed the dynamics of
I
this
don't care
case.
about none of that.
There is a mental disability that is understated.
None of
Yeah,
that
but
matters.
she should not have been allowed to graduate with honors and then go.
I don't care if you are mentally disabled. I don't care what your learning disabilities is. Once you have shown me that you can use tools to to make it into UConn, a college like UConn, and graduate with honors, all of that's out the window. Nope, I'm not buying it. Nope, nope, nope,
So
nope, nope.
apply to college. Okay.
You just didn't have the discipline to
How do you
read,
get accepted in
teach yourself how
UConn
to
when
read
you
or
can't
write.
read? And this is what happens. And that's why it's a scandal. Now she wants to go back and sue. More than likely, they were frustrated with her because she wouldn't buckle down and study. Okay.
Yep.
Now
No resources.
how's she gonna get a job and she can't read or write? Anyhow, continuing. Now, but this is how she's presented now.
Spotlight today is the remarkable story of Alicia Ortiz,
Iridium,
a
how's it going?
19-year-old who graduated from high school with honors, yet faced a profound challenge. She couldn't read or write. Having moved from Puerto Rico to Hartford, Connecticut, Ortiz battled not only a language barrier, but also dyslexia and ADHD. Instead of receiving the support she needed, Ortiz alleges that she was ridiculed by her educators. Despite this, she persevered, leveraging technology and sheer determination to graduate. Now, she is suing the Hartford Board of Education, seeking accountability for the negligence and bullying she endured. Ortiz's journey highlights critical flaws in the education system, emphasizing the urgent need for supportive learning environments. Her story inspires a reevaluation of educational priorities and the importance of compassion in teaching. In the spotlight,
compassion in teaching is what got her here. Okay. The old
Fast
school,
forward a little.
it's status. Okay, getting into UConn is status. But a 6'1", okay, is what you can do on the court. They don't care. Most jobs do not care. They're not going to hold your hand and give you a paycheck just because you're special needs. That's like the ship going through a DEI has to stop. That's like when we fell behind China and Japan and Korea by doing this shit. This is this feminist woke bullshit. This is what
Erlen,
they
how's it
talk about
going?
woke. This is the kind of stuff that gets
I'm positive that there's more to the story. Even if it is curling, like I don't know. Like if I didn't know how to read, and if I was, let's say 16, and in 2025, hell, I'd probably be too lazy to teach myself how to read too. I ain't gonna even lie. I ain't even lie to you, knowing me. But this is not a dumb woman. This is not a dumb bitch. This is even though she doesn't know how to read and write, this is a young lady that knows how to use tools to her advantage. And in that respect, she's ahead of like 99% of people, because most people don't use the tools. And for her to get them to work for her like she can. Most people just don't know how to do it. Or if they know how to do it, they just don't do it. Her only problem is that she doesn't know how to read or write. If she knew how to do that, she could do anything. Now, I don't know what she's going to do, because you're going to drop out of UConn, or because UConn's not going to hold your hand either. Funny MGTOW, how's it going? They're not going to do it. I don't know. I don't know. But there's another. I don't want to get into the education system part of this. I don't really care. Sent back to Puerto Rico. No, we're not going to get into immigration and all the other stuff. He gets on a soapbox somewhere around here. Let's see. North Carolina Tar Heels had a shadow curriculum for fake classes to athletes for 2 decades. The WF blew the whistle when the player could barely read. Before that, Dexter mainly was the poster boy. Yeah, but the athletes, no one cares. Not to say I don't care, but it's just like when you go into college, like these pictures are hilarious to me. But when you're trying to go pro, you're really not there for the education. You know that, and the school knows that. You're just there to fulfill the requirements of the NCAA. Now, when most of those athletes don't make it to the pros, because some like 97% won't make it. Now what? Now you have to. If you don't know how to read, and you're going to, let's say, if you go to Duke, right? You're projected out of high school to go pro, and things just don't work out. You go to Duke or something. Now what? You can't go to Duke and not know how to read. You could do it. You could do it if you're going pro because you're only going to do the one. You only stand there for a year anyway, so it's all good. So you take the easiest classes and you just have white women do it for you. But if you're not going to go pro, now you have to buckle down and get a degree because what? Now what? You're going to play overseas? Okay, that's an option. But if you're going to school for free, and I put that in air quotes, and you don't know how to read or write, and you're going to Duke or North Carolina, especially Duke. Duke is one of those ivory towers, the lowercase ivory towers. You're going to get exposed. You don't want to. No one wants to feel like a dumbass around other people, and it's just like you're in class and you don't know what the hell is going on. Not only don't know what's going on, you can't even read what is even what it. Not only do I not know the material, I can't read it so I can even comprehend it. Huh. Where are the parents?
Happens a number of times. I participated in lawsuits against school.
And got into college and thought that she could do the exact same thing in college that she did in high school and find out, whoa, wait a minute, college, a 4-year college is not what I thought it was going to be. That's how come she had to take a break. Oh, because of emotional distress. Bullshit. You don't know how to read or write.
Yep.
That's that feminist bullshit. You don't know how to read or write. It's not emotional distress. You're failing.
Well, it is. Well, it is emotional distress because you are failing. You're exposed, and you know what you need to do. You probably don't. You don't have the discipline to do it, and so now you're stuck between a rock and a hard place. It's like, I know I need to know how to read and write, but I don't have the time to learn how to do that and go to UConn. I don't. Especially if you're there on scholarship, you'll be. That's why she took a leave of absence, because if you're there getting, B's and C's, or maybe not B's, but C's and D's, you're going to be put on probationary financial aid probation, whatever the hell the official term is, and if you don't pick it up, you're out of there. You're out of there. So I don't know what she's gonna do, but yeah, you can't. There are some schools in America, brick and mortar and online, that you could bluff your way through without knowing your ABC 1, 2, 3. You can. UConn is definitely not one of those schools. Jeez, what were you thinking? UConn? Lord have mercy.
Yeah, she thought UConn would be a cakewalk. She thought she could do the exact same thing with speech to text and ChatGPT that she could do in high school. And then what if she had graduated with UConn? What if she had graduated from UConn with honors and could read or write?
How's it going, AB?
What if that had happened? How would the whole educational system look that you passed this chick, she got through college with honors, and she couldn't read or write?
That would be hilarious.
Did they ever make her take a test? A written test? Nobody ever made her take a written test, even a typing test. Nobody ever looked over her shoulder? Come on, man. How you graduate with honors? You just should the U.S. enter isolation again to reset and not stupid to figure out to fool the high school and fool UConn. She got some kind of smarts.
Sure does.
I think there's a lot of laziness in there too. Personally, that's just me.
I agree.
She got a great mind for scamming. Donald Trump.
That's true too.
Hire her, okay?
She got a great mind for scamming. I don't disagree with that. But if you're a scammer, you want to know how to read and write. It's like I could I could I could I'm not gonna say I'm not gonna say I sympathize, but I could understand like if you're in high school, it's like when that day when you decide to I don't want to say cheat. Cheat is a strong word. Cheat is a strong word. And I understand why you would use it, right? Did she actually learn the material that was given to her? No. She referred to text to type and other dictation tools and chat GPT to fill in the blanks and to do all the work. Because you could do that with online classes, especially with COVID, coming out of COVID. So she just graduated. So that means that she would have done high school in COVID. Oh yeah. That would have been that would probably would have been the best time. Same thing with online colleges too. I don't know how UConn was like during COVID, but yeah, her 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 moment. If she was going to try to bluff through college like a UConn, that window is passed because I'm assuming that they have to actually go. Maybe you can't do all your curriculum online. I'm willing to bet, and I'm a betting man. I'm willing to bet and say that all of her classes are online, and at some point that she would probably have to present something, had to present something, or something that where she couldn't, an activity where she couldn't refer to something like ChatGPT or Perplexity. And if you can't do that, and if you can't refer to your tools, now you're exposed. Now you're just left with what you have in that brain of yours, and you don't have anything rattling up there. Then you got to come up with an excuse, right? I'm sick. I don't know. I don't know.
Exactly. Yeah. Elmo was teaching kids to read. That is true.
Maybe it was pretty girl privilege. This is interesting because there are plenty of illiterate boys out there. You don't see them get paraded on TV, do you? Somehow, some way, or rather, the stories that you do see of the boys, and I'm talking about black boys specifically here, that they go to college. Here we go again. Redneck Russ, why? 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 Leave me alone, please. Let me not feed the trolls. Okay. Maybe it is pretty girl privilege. It helps that one, you're female, and two, you're a sexually attractive female. Because if it was a black boy up there and you're going to school and let's say if you're on the fast track to the NBA and you get hurt in college and now you can't read or write and somehow you got in a Duke. Because Duke doesn't if you're like if so and not to use Zion, but if you're someone like Zion and then somehow what are we doing? Oh, this guy. Oh, this guy's dedicated today. Could have sworn. Hold on. YouTube is taking their time today. Yeah, Oda, I don't know what the hell is going on. I don't know. Anyways, yeah, if you're one of those young black men and you can't read or write and you're going to Duke, you're not going to be touted as a hero. You're not going to be touted as a hero. You're going to be touted as a cautionary case. These niggas can't read, and what the fuck are they doing at Duke? A hero, successful. That's
Yeah,
anyway.
they used to.
I
They
don't want
don't
to
do
get on
that
that
anymore.
soapbox, but that's crazy. Google would hire her just to
Well,
fill
thing is, if
it doesn't make sense
I
that you
remember
take
this,
that long.
I
Yeah,
can't remember the
yeah, it
name of the
does.
movie. It was
Yeah, it does. If you're taking all your classes online, if it's COVID and your entire curriculum is online, all you have to do is do the work and turn it in. That's it. I'm willing to bet that you know not many teachers probably had kids do like presentations on Zoom. Like, no, we have a lecture. We want you to pay attention. Show up for class, raise your hand, make sure your camera's on so we make sure you're there. And then here's the work, do the work, turn it in. Here's the test, turn it in. Here's the essay, turn it in. Hold on, guys. So, yeah, you can bluff through that easily. Easily. You could do that all through high school, especially, well, in COVID, you could.
What a chick said, sometimes being a bitch is all that you have to hold on to, okay? She ain't got, what else did she have? She gonna be a special ed worker working at McDonald's? What else does she have? Okay,
No, she's too smart for that.
basically she took a risk.
She's too smart for that. I do think that she, even though she may not have the discipline of teach herself how to read or write, I think she can get a better job than something fast food. She can use the tools for leverage somehow, some way. It may be a help desk position or some other mid-level customer service role, remote. But yeah, I think she could
Same thing
do
with
better than McDonald's.
kids selling drugs on the street. Her two ways: either work in a strip club like Cardi B or this. Okay, so I commend her for her moxie. But the thing is, if you have that much dog in you to actually scam the system, get in UConn, you have enough dog in you to learn how to read and write. And I've seen that. I've seen the guy get into college, could not read or write, and he basically worked his ass off. Okay, his ass off for 5 years to learn how to read and write and graduate from college. Okay, worked his ass off. He was up 20 hours a day, learning how to read and write. It can be done. I've heard of it being done. But the thing is, can she do it?
Right.
And then you're gonna blame the school.
But that sounds about right.
School
If you're
gave
gonna
you
teach yourself doing schoolwork and reading and writing is that doing about 20 hours, 15, 20 hours sounds about right. Can be done, but yeah, an incredible amount of discipline. If you didn't develop that in high school, then you're probably not going to develop it as a young adult.
the services. You have to use it.
Yep,
I said, did she use?
that I agree
Did
with.
you learn how to read and write?
You know this better than I do in terms of this case, but she now is in college. She had to apply to go to college.
She
So how
did?
did you fill out your application if you don't know how to read and write? It's like these kinds of things that come up. And then in terms
Pay
of her
someone
being
to do it?
humiliated, I'm wondering in a case, are you putting yourself in that situation? I mean, it's not to be able to knock you want to be successful, but you're now putting yourself in these hurdles. Do you think she has a case?
No, I mean 100%. I think this case is excellent, and there's precedent behind it. There's a kid in Tennessee that did the exact same thing. Graduated with 3.4, went on to go to attempt to become in the military, and you need a 31 on the test. He scored a 7.
Wait, no, wait a minute. Wait, whoa.
Please.
You need to start flunking these kids out of school. That's what you need to start doing. You start flunking these kids out of school.
Yeah, I agree.
You start flunking them out of school. You're setting them back. This is bullshit, man. How does it help? How does this help anybody? All you're doing is giving them another avenue to fail. How does it help anybody? It's bullshit. Anyway.
Let me ask y'all something. I agree with BGS that she should have been failed a while ago. Would that have helped her? Maybe. I don't know. Again, I'm not an educator. I'm not a parent, so I don't know. Maybe she fails and then she drops out of school, and we know how that usually plays out. New player, how's it going? Because even if if you keep setting her back, and it's all good, new player. I'm just wondering, you're here to troll or not? That's why I'm looking at you side-eyed. But even if they kept on holding her back, and she would have to get a GED, she still would have had to learn how to read and write. Basically, the alarm bells would have gone off way earlier than UConn. Yeah. I think the schools knew that she couldn't read or write. All right, Noob Slayer says he ain't a troll. Okay. All right. Um, you really can't help people, and that includes young adults. Like if they're not willing to help themselves. So if she's not willing to learn how to read or write, then it doesn't matter if she graduated from high school. It doesn't matter if she got a GED. Doesn't matter. She just wouldn't have. She's still going to fail in college. She's going to fail on the workforce. Hell, even at McDonald's, you have to know how to read. You can get by. I guess you can get by. I suppose, but I mean, do you really want to have that? A 30-year issue where you're just not willing to learn how to read or write? I guess if you don't have the discipline to do so, sure. I don't know. I guess what I'm asking is, would it have been better if they would have failed her multiple times if necessary, instead of, how do I want to word this? I guess the answer is yes. It should have been better if they failed her. Because the alternative is, what you've got, right? You can't just pass them through, and you can't kick the can down the road and hope that good things are going to happen. Now, when it comes to reading and writing, you can't do that. It's just you can't. It's just too big of a gap to fill.
But what I'm saying is, they see the lawyers, see the women and stuff like that protecting her. I want to see the lawsuit, though. I really want to see the lawsuit. I want to see them actually put the school district on trial. Okay. Because she should have never been passed. Number one, okay, she should have never got out of kindergarten without knowing how to read or write. Okay, they should go back to the standard way of doing things instead of making things easy by texting and being on Chromebooks and shit like that. I know you want to, but thing is, at some point.
So this is the 29-minute mark. Okay,
but they're gonna have to stop doing this shit and go back to the basics.
Minus 29-minute mark.
Because now you got these kids that are undereducated getting into the workforce and can't do shit. Well, are they all going to go back and start suing the educational system? You got kids that can barely read and write getting out of college. Okay, and now you want to encourage them to use ChatGPT, game the system just like she did. What did I say about gaming the system, right? Because I got all this crap about using ChatGPT and not reading the book and summarizing the book and blah, blah, blah. And it'll help you learn and summarize. And then when you get out in the fucking workplace, all of a sudden you don't know shit. And 6 months in, they're firing you.
Okay. All right. First of all, BGS, you can go to college, know how to read and write, and still not be workforce ready. Not to deflect, right? So this idea that you know how to read and write meaning we're past those days. Have been over. As far as summarizing books and stuff like that, I'm an advocate of referring air quotes. Referring through classes that are not relevant to your major. Because I think gen eds, at least Florida's gen eds, is something. Well, I guess they're federal. Are they federal? I don't know. I'm not sure. But looking at the computer science program, my first time around, it was something like 60%, 67%, like 2/3 of the program was like gen eds. And even back then, I was like, why do I have to do? I'm trying to learn about the computer inside and out. I don't care about biology. I don't care about political science. Economics does have some relevance in terms of mathematics and stuff like that, and the game theory aspect. But other than that, no. I think I already said anatomy. Writing is relevant. So I'll give that some leeway because you got to do technical documentation and stuff like that. You have to learn that stuff, or at least you should learn it. Again, you don't want to be writing code and you don't know how to write documentation for the code that you write. You don't want to be that guy. Knowing about English, English composition. That's a class. ENC 1101. I'll never forget it. Ugh. So that is the writing class. And the second English class, I think it was for like literature, learning about Macbeth and Old English and all that other stupid shit that has no relevance to computer science whatsoever. None whatsoever. Just shit that gets in your way. I am all for ChatGPT, Cliff Notes, Spark Notes. What's the other one? Spark Charts. Y'all remember those? They used to sell them at Books A Million and Barnes and Nobles. Before ChatGPT, those were kind of like, they weren't cheat sheets because you still had to study them, but they were a summarized version of that class. I did not have the discipline. Let's just say it for what it is. I did not have the discipline to learn Old English just so I could read Macbeth. Like that's two skills, or one skill that I had no interest in whatsoever. That had no relevance to computer science. Absolutely not. So yes, for those classes, yeah, bluff your way, ChatGPT your way through it, whatever. Do I think it's becoming a crutch? For people like Alicia, yeah. Yeah. I don't know what the percentage of Americans know how to read and write, but if you don't know how to read and write, you will eventually get exposed. I don't care how good you are on the tools. We're not at that point yet where you don't need to know how to read and write. We're not there yet. Maybe we won't get there. Maybe it'll be 50 years. Maybe it'll be 10. But until we get to the point where, you remember in the Matrix where Neo was learning how he wanted to learn how to ride a helicopter, and they jacked him in, pause, and they uploaded the program to his brain. Until we're there, you're gonna have to learn how to read and write. And if you already know how to read and write, then okay, you're good. But I could not imagine being an adult not knowing how to read and write, and I have to learn. And now you are fighting with a behavioral pattern that's been working against you your entire life. I couldn't imagine. But as far as using tools and relying on tools, we all do that. We all do that. Computers, cell phones, electricity. ChatGPT is no different. Now, if you want to call it a tool and blah, 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 fine. A nuclear bomb is a tool. Everything's a tool. I don't care. We're just playing with words at that point. All right, continuing on.
And after a whole bunch of kids come in like that, they don't want to hire anybody with a degree that's Gen Z.
Specifically to software engineering, even if you have a degree, if you don't have real world experience, especially now that coding assistants have exponentially improved over the last 2 years, I would say probably the junior developer position is almost completely dead. It's just really no need for it. Do you think this was sad necessity or perhaps pure audacity? You think this was sad necessity or pure audacity? I do love Alicia's boldness because she didn't drop out. She could have just said, "Fuck it, I'm dropping out." She didn't do that. So I do think it could be both. It could be both, Curlin. I do love her audacity. Like, you know what? I'm not going to drop out. I'm not going to do what most kids do when they come across a hurdle that seems gargantuan. And learning how to read and write is a gargantuan hurdle. So I will commend her for that. If only she had the discipline to learn how to read and write. And again, I know it's not easy. Especially if in high school, if you got 7 other classes or 6 other, 7 classes. Yeah, 7 classes minus PE, so that would be 6. 6 classes that you have to do work for. Because the longer you keep putting off learning how to read and write, the harder it gets because you got other shit on your plate that you have to accomplish. Other things that you on your plate you have to do. You don't really have much time. You can make time, yes, if you're willing to put 15 to 20 hours, and that's, yes, if you're willing to put that time until you could accomplish anything in this world. But if you're not willing to put in 12, 15, 20 hours, then it stacks. The difficulty stacks. I will commend her on not dropping out. I think she should win her case without a monetary award. Well, Curlin, now you know what the money's for. I don't think she'll have enough. She won't have enough to live off on. But it's probably to pay for school or another school, because I don't think she's gonna make it through UConn. You just can't. UConn is too demanding of a school for you to learn ABC 1, 2, 3. That's true, but don't ask for money. Like I said, I don't sympathize with her because she has the resources, and she just didn't use them. I assume. I don't know her story specifically, but I know that every state has some sort of government assistance on people with special needs. And again, this is a young lady that can graduate from high school using just ChatGPT and text to type. She didn't quit. Not only she graduated from honor. So no. Yeah.
And everybody thinks it's okay. Oh, we can just leverage more technology. And that's the same technology you're training to replace. You do wonder why you're going to get replaced doing this kind of bullshit.
Incorrect. Absolutely wrong. You're going to get replaced by the technology regardless if you know how to read or write. Regardless if you have a computer, if you have a college degree. Regardless if you have a computer science degree. Why? Because automation is what, 1/50th, maybe even more of the price of a human being. Human beings, just by default, in terms of money in versus money out, cannot compete with automation. It doesn't matter how long your CV is. It doesn't matter. I mean, sure, if you're a machine learning engineer, you could stay around a little bit longer, but I mean, yeah, the people, the low hanging fruit are going to be the first to. Well, I wouldn't even say that's even true. But ideally speaking, that like the less skills you have, the easier it is for you to be automated. Sure, but automation is moving at a neck breaking speed. This is not 2023 anymore, and I know that sounds utterly ridiculous to say since it was less than two years ago. I know that sounds crazy, but coding tools, you can code anything because you have the power of GitHub and Stack Overflow. Use that as training data. There's really not many coding issues you come across. Again, in my opinion, it comes down to prompts in your prompt engineering framework. If you know how to prompt, you can figure it out. Can you create a full-blown web application? Last time we had this talk, and I will admit that I was a little bit out of touch when it was the what was it, 8-year-old little girl, 5-year-old, 11-year-old, however old she was. She created a full stack application from nothing using just a coding tool. She did have training from her father. I'll admit that I was out of touch. From that time, which was that 6 months, 7 months, maybe 8 months ago, last July-ish, somewhere around there. From that time, it's even gotten astronomically easier to create anything that you want. Since that time, we got Bolt.new, we got MCP servers, we got We got Cursor. Well, there was Cursor. Cursor was new. I don't think she used Cursor. I have to go back and look. Cursor, Klein, Rucline. Like the market is flooded with coding assistants, bots, generators, agents since that video. And that was like 6 years ago. So if you're still one of those people that says, well, ChatGPT still can't create anything meaningful, you're wrong. This is not 2023 anymore, and we're not dealing with ChatGPT version 3.5 turbo. Those days are gone. You're wrong. People can't create a useful SaaS application simply off of prompting. You're wrong. You're absolutely wrong. Incorrect. And when people say stuff like that, I just know you don't know what you're not privy to the tools that you have available to you. You just don't know. That's fine. And if you don't want to know, that's fine. But don't say something stupid like you can't create X because the bots aren't that advanced. You're wrong. You're wrong. When it comes to coding, you're wrong. When it comes to video, you're wrong. When it comes to audio, because we have Suno and Udio, and we have what is that? I forgot the open source version. AI can't make music. You're wrong. AI can't make really good music. You're wrong. You're wrong. You're wrong. You're wrong. Don't tell me about what AI can't do. I can point you to the programs that can do exactly what you said they can't do. You want to do things the old-fashioned hard way? You want to learn music theory? Okay, cool. That's nice. That's nice that you went to music school and you know how to you're musically trained and you could tell a note just by hearing it. That's awesome. I don't care about any of that. And most people who make music don't give a shit about that. I don't care if you went to art school and you know how to draw anything by memory. I don't care. Here's my avatar, matter of fact. Google's image effects. Let me do this. And that's Aaliyah. Now, I did some jailbreaking and a lot of hacking, in air quotes, to get image effect to get to deepfake Aaliyah. Because it didn't want to do it. Like image effects is pretty hard headed on doing celebrities. Don't want to do it. Continuing on.
You dumb down the kids and replace them with technology. Okay. And
also, he has this idea that is the music good or not? Does it smell? Exactly. Funny MGTOW. Most people that eat a steak, they don't care and they don't want to see how it's made. Probably turn your stomach if you saw how steak was made. Does it sound good? Well, it's not properly mixed. It's, the hi-hats are a little distorted. I don't care. Who cares? Don't tell me about the quality of music when I'm hearing all the crap I'm hearing coming on the radio today. Miss me with that nonsense. BJS has where we fundamentally disagree. He has this idea that technology is making people dumber. And I say technology is making people more productive and smarter if they're willing to put in the time. We cannot blame technology for people being dumb. People have been dumb before technology. I don't know. No. That doesn't make sense. We can't say that we can't lay the blame at ChatGPT for Alicia for her taking the route that she decided to take. Now, we could say that because the educational what the hell is the word I'm looking for? Syllabus or the requirements are and how they actually implement it. Like if you could use I don't know if they I'm pretty sure that education boards don't have like an auditor that could determine if someone could just chat GPT their way through high school. They probably should. We can't lay that at the blame of chat GPT. We can't do that. No. We can't blame ChatGPT for Elisa's scenario. I'm not saying that BGS is, but no, I don't believe technology is making people dumber. No, the absence of technology doesn't mean that people were smarter. I don't buy that either. I do buy that, but no, I don't buy that. God damn, I'm confusing myself. I'm taking the inverse. The absence of technology doesn't make people smarter, and because that's what have to be true. If the presence of technology made people dumber. No, I've been more productive in the last 3 years than previous 30. It's not even close, especially when it comes to coding. I'll tell you what, if you are an upcoming programmer and you haven't adopted an AI first framework or workflow, you will be left behind. No one cares if you know the blind 75 leak code off the top of your head. No one cares. No one cares. Can you create this web application? Can you fix this issue on the front end? Can you add this feature on the back end? I don't care if you use ChatGPT. There is some maturing that still needs to be done in terms of people's thinking in the industry, in my opinion. And I do think that's just a function of coding assistants being still relatively new, in air quotes, because even though they've been around for 3 years ish, people still have their old way of thinking. Old think, I like to call it. Right? If you don't memorize it, then if you don't know it, okay. So the thinking is if you haven't memorized it, then you don't know it. And if you don't know it, then you can't do it. The problem is that when you add tools to that, like ChatGPT, like a Perplexity, like a developer's reference, or all of the above, you add Gemini, you add Claude, you add Copilot, you add an IDE on top of that, it doesn't really hold up when you know how to use all those tools. Because at the end of the day, the job doesn't care. They may care. In the interview, they definitely care. But you could cheat an interview just by memorizing the blind 75, which will take like a month. You're willing to put a month into it. You do 2 problems a day, 3 problems a day, and then you have your blind 75 in 1 month. And then the next month after that, you can start applying for jobs. You'll pass the technical part of most technical interviews. That's the cheat code, guys. Blind 75 leak code. If you want to get into any programming job, are there exceptions? Sure, but most jobs still do. They still believe that you got to learn leak code, even though you don't use leak code in the day to day at all. But the old think is if you haven't memorized it, you don't know it, you can't do it. Well, I don't need to memorize it. And I don't need to know it. I know how to prompt for it. And I can come up with the solution. Now, should you know if you're going to prompt a web application, do you want to know something about web development? You do, because even though the bots are very good and are exponentially greater than what they were 2 years ago, they're still not perfect. And if it comes to like a very specific issue in a specific domain, it still may hallucinate, and you have to be able to differentiate if something is hallucination or not. Right? You don't want to be looking at code and be like, yeah, I don't know what to do. You don't want to be that guy. I mean, you could refer to your coworkers, but I think you're both right. It's making folks like us smarter while making the lazy dumber, so to speak. So Curlin, here's my question. So, like, we're assuming that the lazy would pick it up, so to speak, if these tools weren't around. Maybe they would, maybe they wouldn't. I don't know. We can't say either way. But why do we stop at LLMs? Why not stop at the internet? B just believes that, by the way. Internet has made us dumber. And cell phones. He believes that as well. And no, I do think maybe it's a generational thing. As far as the like I said before, if you need to rely on doomsday, like damn near apocalypse, zombie apocalypse, doomsday scenario, so you can get your point. Well, yeah, it's great that you're relying on LLMs, but what happens if the internet goes down? Well, if the internet goes down and you work remotely, you're not working now, are you? Now, what happens if the power goes out? Well, if the power goes out and you're working remotely, or if you're working on a computer, then you can't do your job now, can you? Right? These far-fetched, not impossible, but highly unlikely scenarios. For those of you who are old enough, you remember these are the arguments that people used to make about calculators. What happens if it's cloudy outside and you can't use your calculator? Use the one that's battery operated. What happens if your battery dies? Like, what are we doing? Anyways, let's continue on.
And wonder how come they can't get a job. Wondering why other countries are starting to eat their lunch.
Automation's coming. My point is, automation's coming for you whether you have a college degree, whether you know how to read, whether you don't know how to read or not. Doesn't matter. It's coming for you. Funny Meatball says, I remember. Yeah. If you're also old enough, you remember that search engines were not welcome at all. They were seen as public cheat machines, right? Because before search engines, you had to go to the public library to do your research. There's no other way around it because most of us didn't have access to the World Wide Web. Couldn't afford a computer because back then they were like 3,000 to start, 2,000 to start. I'll be generous. 2,000 to start, and then internet was on top of that, and yeah. So most of us poor folks didn't have access to a computer, let alone the internet. So we had to go to the library to use the computer to look things up. And then my teachers in middle school specifically, we would have to use a card. So if you remember, for those, again, I'm talking to everyone that's like 30 and older now. The Dewey Decimal System, we had to take one of those cards out of those little boxes, before they had people put their library inventory on the internet. You had to go look through these long ass index card slots and look for the book. I don't miss those days, but my teacher, at least Volusia County, we would take one of those cards. We would get them from the librarian, and we would have to write the name of the book, what we got out of there, kind of like an actual sourcing our reference our sources. And we had to have it signed by an employee at the library. If it wasn't signed, we got an F. We were not allowed to use search engines. They were seen as cheating back then. Today, that's ridiculous, right? 30 years ago, not so ridiculous. Not so ridiculous 30 years ago. So yeah, no, I don't believe technology is making people dumber. I think dumb people are going to be dumb whether technology is around or not. I think the lazy is going to be lazy regardless. If you're lazy and you're using tools to be productive, that doesn't make you dumb. That doesn't make you dumb. It actually makes you smart because you're being more productive. I don't want to use ChatGPT. I'm gonna do it. I've memorized it. Okay, Goofy, you go ahead and do that. You do that. Goofy.
Start eating America's lunch. because you started this shit 40 years ago, treating human beings like machine pieces. They're not. And then you're thinking that you're going to survive this and you can leverage technology and overcome this, and now you got 300 million people that you don't have anything to do with. Get the fuck out of here.
Memorizing more stuff, memorizing more useless stuff is not going to help. I love the idea of trade schools. Trade schools, you're there to learn the skill that you're interested in. You're not bogged down with gen eds, you're not bogged down in red tape, going to regular college. I love that idea. But even the trades are not safe from AI. Jensen already done told you now. He told you in Computex last year in July. He told you again this year at CES. They already have a robotic. They have them released in some areas. I think they have a plant down in Orlando or Daytona, one of them. One where they're putting these bots to use. Right? They don't need pickers. I think that's the actual term or the position to get the items and then label them and stuff like that. No, they got bots to do that. They got bots to do the picking. They got bots to sort them out and all the other stuff. Now that's still low hanging fruit, but these bots were made to scale, right? Scaling in terms of skill. So it is going to be a question of how can you stay ahead of automation, whether you know how to read or write or not, whether you have a college degree or not. No one is safe. I don't care if you're a lawyer. I mean, I guess do you always? Well, as of today, we still need actual people to be in the courtroom and argue, right? Lawyers to actually do that. I don't know about 10 years from now. Maybe, maybe not. Who knows? I'll tell you right now, the idea of two robots arguing against each other in the court is ridiculous, but hilarious at the same time. But you never know. I know lawyers are using tools like Claude because Claude Sonnet 3.7 does writing exceptionally better than 4.5, not 4.5, 03 mini high. Way better. Continuing on. No one is safe. That's my point. No one is safe. I don't care what your CV says, unless you're a machine learning engineer, in which case not only need to know how to read and write, you're going to need to know a gang of... Okay, think about it like this. Machine learning is at the very top of the stack. Right? It's kind of like the icing, or maybe the cherry on top, right? Underneath that, your foundation, mathematics, it's specifically linear algebra, probability and statistics, discrete mathematics, calculus in some sense, Excel, SQL, data analytics on top of that, data science on top of that, ML ops on top of that, AI ML ops. All this is under the computer science branch, by the way. You absolutely cannot bluff your way through machine learning, and that's how long would that last? Who knows? There's already, I think, was it Google that released a paper a few days ago about a blueprint on how to create a AI scientist. Still in rough draft form, but with 3 years, 2.5 years from ChatGPT being released. It's coming for everyone. You're not safe because you could do mental math. That's ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
And said can't do anything in the home, have no skills in the real world, marriage. Well, yeah, basically, I knew that back in the 90s. Marriage is over. I just wanted to see how they were actually going to play this shit out. Okay, but I remember I never forget it, man. It was two psychologists, man. Black psychologists, okay? We had about a half an hour argument over this shit about fucking marriage 2.0
I
shit.
think that's
Okay, you're not
is that
right
it?
partner. How 80% of people not left behind. It was even before that. And women have always been in charge of our kids. For 3 months,
Going
supposed to happen at 3 well, I remember my mother said how she learned how to start treatment. Talking about black males. Man, that's how life is. If you're not prepared, you get smacked around with can't shelter kids. You're supposed to shelter means you give them enough to what they can handle and prepare them for the outside world. Okay. I remember when I was bullied. She's back. Special ed's been around a while since really since the 70s. It happens. Okay, it's been happening. In fact, it was happening. Good luck. 54 mine. Hartford
I think
budget
that's
this year is 129
it.
into teacher white school system.
Yeah, guys. So I just wanted to come on here and, you know, I love the story. I just don't like that she went back and is now playing victim. That, you know, I got exposed, so pay me. That I don't like. I just had the idea and it kind of just left me. But yeah, I tell everyone all the time, man, please, 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 please adopt the AI first workflow. At the very least, learn the tools. Get the 2020, get the 2030 and not know how to use a chatbot. Watch what happens. See how fast you get replaced because you don't know how to use a chatbot. You don't want to be the only. You don't want to be the guy. You don't want to be the guy that and be just mentioning the word Luddite. I've never called him Luddite, and I'm not saying he called me that, but I do think in this sense, because he's not up on the tools either. Everyone knows ChatGPT, but ChatGPT is nowhere near the best LLM, not even close. But if you want to remain relevant in a workforce that is moving towards semi-automation, if your job is not fully automated, it will be semi-automated. You better learn. These companies are integrating like these AI bots, and you think you're not gonna use them or learn them because why? It's gonna make you dumber. It's gonna make you lazier. Don't be a Luddite. I will say that. Then you're just being a Luddite. Back in my day, we had to memorize this stuff. Okay, be that guy. But anyway, guys, like I was saying, image effects. I like. It took some jailbreaking to get this Aaliyah picture out. And that's from Google. I think the actual prompt is Aaliyah, the R&B singer, and then whatever you want from there. That should still work. Now, why I can't get anyone else without considerable jailbreaking and Aaliyah relatively easy, somewhat easy. I think it's just a design flaw right now. They'll probably have it patched up, but you can't get any other celebrities. No one else. It'll block it. It'll say like this image is not available and safety reason, blah blah blah. Yeah, I can smack it, but it does Aaliyah very well, very very well, almost perfect, better than what I could ever. All the images I've trained. But thank you guys for coming. I appreciate it. Do I want to do another N8N video? You know what? Yeah, we'll do another one at 10 o'clock. Because we're still creating our Am I the Asshole / Reddit content, infinite content generation machine with N8N. So we'll do that in about 30 minutes. Thank you all for coming, and y'all have a good night.